Hi and welcome back to Headbangers Ball. Unfortunately, the weather has deteriorated outside, so we've come backstage and it's time to meet the second of our 6 featured Donington bands. And in fact, I'm joined by Blackie Lawless from W.A.S.P, and it's very nice to see you again on Headbangers Ball. Blackie, how are you?
Shucks, ma'am, thanks.
Now,
Just make me blush.
straight to the Donington questions. You came off stage about an hour ago, and of course you have played here before, but today I think it's safe to say under very different circumstances. How do you feel about W.A.S.P in 1992?
Well, I've played this place twice now. This is the second time, but this is the 4th time I've been here. And somebody asked me, what's it like? You know, I said, have you been here before? I said, I'm getting ready to take one of these trailers and just move into it. Next year I'm going to be out here doing concessions and all that stuff. As far as the band now, my philosophies has changed on life. I mean, I've really changed a lot. And the things that I moved from California to Arizona, and I'm very much into Indian culture now and stuff. And it's changed me as a person, so therefore it's going to change the things that I write about. And I've always been a political radical at heart. And the thing that I think that I do best, I mean, the greatest gift that I have is not the talent to sing or play or whatever, it's to communicate to people. And the best thing that I can do is to use that platform that I have to say things. I mean, rock and roll originally was designed to be about anarchy and revolution, and when you see something wrong, you say something about it. And the problem is with most bands now, they're singing about their girlfriend's red high heel shoes, and that don't really make it as far as I'm concerned. A little bit of that goes a long way.
Okay, but the stage show is obviously very different this time.
Well, it's not, we're not near as animated as we once were, because like I said, people before, they were listening with their eyes and not their ears, and if you want people to hear a message, sometimes you got to take it to them direct, and that's probably the biggest difference between now and then.
Okay. Do you believe that you have as much to prove today or as you did when W.A.S.P debuted here in 1987?
No, because I was talking about a change in philosophy. And the only thing I got to prove anything to, only person I have to prove anything to is myself, you know, because if I'm going to be my own worst critic, then probably people will be happy with whatever you do after that, you know. It's like if you're really, really critical with yourself. And I tell you, I've done more to put myself into a grave making this record than any other one I'd ever done before. So as I think about it at the end of the day, I go, you know, is it really that important or not? But one thing I do know is that records are like little time capsules, and they should be the best that they can be, because after they're done, you can't change them, and they're going to be there forever, you know. And it, like, when an artist takes a journey, we all take journeys through life, all humans, but when an artist takes that journey, he leaves his works by the roadside as byproducts of what he was, you know. And when he does that, you should be able to look back at his career and say, that's what he was thinking. That's where he was in his life at that point, and I really think that's what records are for. So they should be the best that you can make.
Absolutely. I mean, do you feel that there's more pressure on you now that you're the focal point of the band, or is it still important to you that W.A.S.P is seen as a band?
W.A.S.P are an idea, and Johnny Rod, who is the bass player, has been with me since '86, so there's more collaboration going on there than people might think. So I don't really feel that calling me a focal point or anything like that is really being honest, number one, or doing justice to the other people that are there. So if that's the way people want to perceive it, that's fine, but that's not the way we see it.
To write to a concept rather than just like individual songs.
It's really difficult, and I'll tell you why. Because when you do a traditional album, you have the luxury of recording songs and you put them all together, and when they're done, you create a running order at the end of that, you know. And if you don't like that running order, you can change it. One of the things that I quickly learned was that when you do something like this, you write the story first, and then you've got music on the side, but you can't really put the music in because you don't know where it's going to go yet. Because the one thing I'm thinking in the back of my mind is, remember the flow. Remember the flow. It's got to, the running order's got to be right, because when you get done, you put all the elements together. If the flow is not right or the running order is not right, you got to tear it down and start all over again. And after 2 years of building that wall, no thank you. I had no desire to do that. So I said, okay, this has got to be done methodically. Doing a record like this is compared to a regular album. A regular album is a day at the beach compared to this. This took a lot out of me. And I wrote Pete Townsend a letter the other day because I told him before I started this album what I wanted to do and what the story was about and all that, and he pretty much patted me on the back and said, yeah, I think it's a good idea. But one thing I did not know was that when it was over, how it was going to change me. And when you live with a character, see, there's 9 characters in the story of the Crimson Idol, and you don't just put a name on somebody and expect them to be real. You got to give them all a heart and a soul and a mind and a personality and everything. I mean, to me, they were very real. And when you see the pain that someone goes through in a story like this, it'll put you through changes as well. So the letter that I wrote to him the other day, I says, obviously you have been through this before, but I had not. I said, this took me on a journey, a very bizarre journey, one that I'm not sure that I want to repeat again because of what it did to me. It's like I said, when you deal with a depressing subject day in and day out, and that boy became as real to me as you're sitting here in front of me now, it'll do a number on you.
Your objectivity throughout that.
That is the single hardest thing to do, is because when you don't have a sounding board, say another producer or something like that, it's really, really tough. So what you do is, which is one of the reasons it took so long to record it. If I would have known what I know now, I could have recorded the record in less than 6 months. But when you don't know what you're doing, you have to put, it's like building a wall, and you take one block and you put it up, and you got to back off and you look at it and you go, okay, that one's all right, and you put another one up, and it's very slow and very methodical, and it's very, very painstaking, because I'm the kind of person that, you know, I mean, as with everybody else in this generation, you want everything done yesterday, you know, it's like, let's hurry up and get it done, you know, it's like, but it does not work with this. You've got to do it slowly, because like, as we were talking before, when you get to the end of it, if it's not right, you've got to tear it all down and start all over again. There was no way I was even thinking about that. I mean, with the time is one thing, but the money that it took to do this is just like, I would have been on the soup line after this. It was enormously expensive to do.
It's just as well you had your own studio, really.
Well, that's what I did, is I built the studio before I did that, because everybody said, okay, what took so long to do this? All right, the last tour, the Headless Children tour, ended in September of '89. I went to Mexico for about 2 weeks and just laid around and contemplated my life and what I was going to do. And I said, okay, I'm going to build a studio, which I eventually ended up being called Fort Apache. Now, one thing that I did not take in consideration is that you can record in studios till you're blue in the face all over the world, but until you build one, you have no idea what's involved. I mean, it's like there's a lot of legwork that has to be done. It took 9 months to build the studio. I figured it'd take 2 months. So I'm off the mark there. Then I get into the storyline, and the story took a year to write. So I'm writing the story while the studio is being built. Now, in the meantime, I'm writing music, but like I said before, I don't know where the music's going to go because the story's not finished yet. So it's just, I mean, it's tough. It's really complicated. And if I would have known what I know now, I put myself on a 3-year kamikaze course to do it, but I can tell you,
well, basically, every single aspect of this album has been like a tremendous learning process for you, hasn't it?
Nothing that I did on this record was like anything I had ever done before. And one thing I will say is that if I do another record like this, which I probably will in the future, that I've got some of the formula down of how you have to go about it. But it's like, you know, turning somebody loose, you know, in the desert and say, find your way without a road map. You know, it's like, okay, where do I start? You know, and you start calling on every ounce of experience that you've ever garnered or accumulated, and it's tough.
And the moral of the story is be careful what you wish for. Does that in any way apply to your own life?
Well, yeah, because like so many times, you know, we think we want things and we don't, you know, we finally get it and we go, well, this is what I thought it was going to be, you know, which this boy's quest is like, he's like standing at the foot of the mountain and he's miserable. He hates his life, hates his parents, hates everything, you know. But he's looking up the mountain, he's thinking to himself, well, if I get up there, I'll be all right, you know. Well, he struggles and he finally gets there. The one thing he doesn't plan on is that once he gets there, he's still miserable. And in reality, he was better off when he was down at the foot of the mountain because he was miserable there too, but at least he had somewhere to go. Now he's on top and he's still in trouble, and there's only one way out for him.
Which best to listen to the album and find out. And very quickly, would you like to be able to perform this album in its entirety, rather like Queensryche did with Operation Mindcrime, with all the visuals and stuff?
We've already shot the story in movie form with all 9 characters in it, so they will see that when we perform it live. When we come back to start our own proper tour, which starts at the end of September here in Europe, we will do the record in its entirety from beginning to end.
Brilliant. Oh, well, I shall really look forward to that. Okay, well, thank you very much for taking time out to talk to me. It's so interesting. I've got 10 more questions, but we are running out of time. We've got Slayer coming up for you on the Headbangers Ball, but right now we are going to see more of W.A.S.P's absolutely blistering live performance here at Donington. Check